And we are live.
Hello! We are live.
We're live.
We are live.
We're live.
We are. It's great to be back. We took a big break because we went through our season last year, and now we're back. And we're back because in, less than 4 weeks, 3 weeks, Places to Love Season 5 will begin to air. 6 will begin to air. Sorry. It's a good problem to have when you forget what season you're on. So to kind of, gear things up and get people ready for our new series, what we'd love to do is go back and see our prior series, Season 5, as well as play it and kind of give you behind the scenes, what we experienced as a production crew that you don't usually see in the finished product. Everything is so clean and crisp and ready to go. And what you don't know is what happens when, the cameras weren't rolling. And I don't mean that in any sort of bad way. It's just we have really great relationships with everyone that we get to work with on the show. And so we'll give you an idea of like how we met them, how we got to know them, how they came to be a part of the show, and all of that kind of wonderful thing, that stuff that you just don't know about, that goes behind the scenes on a travel show. It's really exciting to be back.
Yeah, very exciting.
And I'm going to be a little rusty. Sorry.
Trying to figure out how I did this before.
Exactly. Oh gosh, how does my makeup look? I think it's a little too much like Kevin. I don't know. I try to look nice tonight. Do we have people on, or people? We have so many great friends. I know that we're going to try to join us tonight and be here. Old friends that we became pretty close all last year. I know David Dean, our editor, will be joining, and he said something funny to us, Kevin. He said, "Wow." He's like, "Well, I guess I'll be missing my karaoke night."
Oh.
And so David Dean goes to karaoke and he sings. And if he's watching right now, I just want to know, what's your go-to karaoke song? And actually, to everyone watching right now, let's kick it off with the first question of the night, which is, what is your go-to karaoke song? Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
It's been probably 20 years since I've done karaoke.
Okay.
I remember rocking a good Mustang Sally in Cyprus once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're putting a place.
I had backup singers and stuff.
Are you serious?
That might have been 25 years ago.
That was in Cyprus?
Yeah.
Wow, so they really pull out all the stops
there.
Yeah,
it was fun.
My gosh. Mine is Magic by Olivia Newton-John. Olivia Newton-John was always right in my range. May she rest in peace. But I loved it. Xanadu, I could rock a good Olivia Newton-John song. And, yeah.
All right, so I just got the comments working. We got a Love Shack.
Love Shack, that's a great one. Yeah. And you got to really hit it. Love Shack.
You need someone else to do the whole Fred Schneider part.
Yeah.
That's not a one-person song.
That's true. People, I bet you the audience, there's a lot of audience participation in karaoke there. I like that. That's a fun one, too.
So Jeff Rumplick.
Jeff, how you doing, Jeff?
Does not karaoke.
We don't karaoke.
No.
Well, poo-poo on you.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Don't be a party pooper. Jeff, we're going to think of a really good song for you to sing. Something like Neil Diamond? Nah? No? Maybe? Yeah?
I think he's Long Island, isn't Jeff? Jeff Long
Jeff
Island?
is Long Island.
Neil Diamond's Brooklyn. That's technically Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Rob Taylor,
Rob, of course he's going to come
Xanadu.
in. Yeah, exactly. And roller skates.
Yeah.
It's true, Rob. Rob, tell us what your karaoke song is. I'm sure it's good. Very good. So we are right now, as a production team, in the process of kind of just putting together season 6. We have how many episodes are there? 10. 10 brand new episodes. We are not going to tell you what they are. I'm sure if you've been following along with my social media, you kind of have an idea of where we're going, but we're going to let that roll out in a little more of a nice surprise kind of way. And so we're excited about season 6. Just to give you an idea, it takes us sometimes 10 edits, full-scale edits, just to get the show where we want. And it can be an arduous process. We just finished one that was particularly difficult because we have to meet deadlines that are imposed by other people, other entities, but we have to meet their deadlines and make sure that the show is being delivered on time. So there's a lot to do. And then once we're done editing it, David Dean, myself, and Kevin and I, then it goes to post-production to be given more color, we kind of brighten it up, freshen it up. The sound has to be checked. Everything has to be normalized. And
approval after approval after approval.
Yeah.
And every show's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Every show,
yeah.
a winner.
But at some point, you have to let the show go because you'll just keep editing it. You'll just be like, and so it's just sometimes good to be like, okay, we are done.
Yep.
And so that's where we are with that. Just so you know, this will be airing again on your local PBS station.
Yep.
We are a public television show, and that means that we would not be able to do that show without our sponsors. That's how we receive no money from APT. We receive no money from PBS. We raise all of our own funding on our own, produce the episodes needed for a full season, and then we give it back to every PBS station. There's over 300 and how many? 23, 300?
Yeah.
There's a lot of PBS stations across the country. They all can air it at different times, but we give it back for free. And what we gain, because people are like, well, what do you gain from that? We get to own the show. It's our show, and it's our vision, and it's our art, and no one can tell us how to edit it, what it should look like. And that just, we love that. That's our art, and we get to show who we want and go where we want. And that's really what we get. So with our sponsors, again, we've come through a really difficult time with travel and with the economy, and we are so proud to say that our sponsors from last year, we had, of course, On the Waterways, and they are our sponsor again for season 6.
From the beginning, they've been with us the whole journey.
From day one, they've been a sponsor. I just got back from an On the Waterways cruise. I took my mom to Germany along the River Main and Rhine. There we go, to see the Christmas markets. And let me tell you, the Christmas markets of Germany are just magical, absolutely magical. My mother and I, we had Wurst in every Christmas market, Bamberg, Nuremberg, Würzburg, all the burgs, and Cologne. But Cologne, I got to tell you, Nuremberg by far is the most, I would say, beautiful with the most arts and crafts. Every kiosk or stand there is run by a family, an artist that hand makes those items. And a lot of times it goes back hundreds of years, this particular item, this particular family who makes this. And I really felt that in Nuremberg, that everything was just handmade and beautiful. And then as we got to like the smaller Christmas markets, like in Bamberg and Würzburg, there was still a little of that, but then things would kind of creep in, like household items, maybe, appliances, that kind of thing. It became a little bit more of a market. But then we got to Cologne, and Cologne, oh my gosh, I've never been in it. Cologne is phenomenal. It had like 7 Christmas markets. Literally one I sprinted to because it was in Rudolfplatz, and it was the Rudolph Christmas market where all the stands had Rudolph and reindeers. I'm like, well, I have to get that. So I left my mom behind, put her back on the boat, and sprinted and got to Rudolfplatz. So
that's great.
We had a good time. Yeah.
I have a question though. Yeah. How much holiday Glühwein was imbibed when this photo was taken?
Oh gosh! Well, there's me, my mom, and Santa. There was some Glühwein. There was a lot of glue, a lot of wine. Yeah. The great thing about it is so Santa visited us on the Ama Prima, and you're on this boat with no kids, and then there's Santa. And all the adults, me included, went nuts. Like, finally, we got Santa to ourselves. And the line to get on Santa's lap and get a picture with Santa was, like everyone, no one was going to pass up a time with Santa. So that was great. We also have Rocky Mountaineer. Rocky Mountaineer is a sponsor from last year, which has continued on this year.
Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also went on a trip with them back in April, if anyone remembers, did the the Canadian Rockies.
Yep.
That was incredible. And what's so great about our sponsors is then we always try to do a trip that incorporates the sponsor, and I join you on that trip. And I usually give a talk. I usually give a few talks and just, dine and go on tours with the people on these on the train. That was the Rocky Mountaineer. Phenomenal. It has those windows that give you basically a panoramic view of just absolute beauty, and you can tell you're just in luxury there.
And our third sponsor, AAA, has actually helped out with both the trips for On the Waterways and with Rocky Mountaineer doing special groups and things.
It's really, as someone who like produces travel shows where it's just on us to get, from point A to point B, to have a person that holds your hand, like at AAA, they always have a representative there. So they're making sure that you're getting on that train. They're making sure you've got your passport. Like it's a really nice experience. I highly recommend it because I usually don't get that type of a service in my real life. Nudge, nudge, Mr. Producer. I gotta hail my own cabs.
Yeah. Well, So we have some big news. So we talked about our sponsors that have been with us for the last couple of years and how great they are. But we have a new sponsor this season, season 6. And we actually featured them in an episode of our new upcoming season. And that's Holland America.
Holland America.
Yeah. And we, that's that's a little bit of a preview from our Alaska episode that'll air next year. And we're really excited for everyone to see that. But besides having a new sponsor that we're really excited about with Holland America, we have even bigger news that we are doing a sailing with them next year. And that's around Norway, August 19th next year. And Samantha will be there. I'll be there. I think whole fam's going to be there. You can find more out how to book that with hollandamerica.com/Samantha Brown. Of course, you can reach out to your travel advisor. And if you don't have one, we certainly recommend AAA travel for that as well. But we're really excited.
Yeah, very excited.
I've never been to Norway.
Oh, I've never been to Norway either. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So we get to fly into Amsterdam, which is wonderful, phenomenal. I've just been in Holland eating their wonderful little puffy pancakes. I plan to eat a lot of those little puffy pancakes.
Puffy pancakes
on the ship. And Rob and Chris Taylor said that they were thinking about it.
Wow.
And I'm going to hold you to that because we would have a good time with our kids and their kids, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, just look it up, see what you want to do. We have a great time. And I know we have a great time with the Facebook Lives, but...
and you'll be doing some talks and some meet and greets?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So there's all the official, and then you just kind of see me around the boat, and we get together, and we have dinners together. That's what I really love. I love meeting the people who have been huge supporters of me and our careers, and it's just a nice time to celebrate, that's for sure.
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah. August should be perfect to be in Norway. Our first time. It's really awesome.
Skål. Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so, and I think someone mentioned from Holland America, they might be watching the chat. If there's any questions about it, I think there might be people that can help jump in to answer any questions about the cruise next year. Again, August 19th, from and to Amsterdam. So you leave Amsterdam, go all around Norway, then back to Amsterdam. So
and it's on their brand new ship.
Yeah,
right?
the Rotterdam, which actually you can see.
My gosh.
We had a little bit of a preview. They were in New York City a few months ago, and we got to.
I love when we have a local commute.
Yeah.
To a cruise ship.
To be able to go.
It's amazing. To take hail a cab.
An Uber to a cruise ship. That's a nice thing.
But it's a beautiful ship.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of the, just the hot, like the Delft china you see, and they do have the little fluffy pancakes, and they have is it herring? Actually, when I was in Amsterdam just a week ago, I made sure that I had their special treat, which is herring, slightly cured, I think, and they serve it with onions and pickles. Luckily, there was no kissing after, but it's so good. It's so fresh. So yeah, I'm excited to eat. So, but we're here because Asheville, North Carolina. You think this was our first episode of season?
Yeah, it's definitely 5? The first one we aired, but I believe it was the first one we filmed. I'm 95% sure.
Okay, I don't remember that. I certainly know it was the first one we aired because usually when we look at an entire season, we say, what's the show that's going to kick us off? And for us, it was just hands down Asheville, North Carolina. Everyone knows about the city. I think everyone either has gone or wants to go. So we know that we have that not pressure, but that challenge to show people a different side, maybe a place that a side of it that they don't really know about Asheville, and how to approach it from a different angle that's not just plastered on every travel magazine or travel blog. Asheville, North Carolina, and we did. The people we met were phenomenal, and in fact, we have a special guest going to be joining us at the end of the program.
Yes, we do.
And so we're really
so stick around till after that we go through the episode, and we will have a special guest join us. Mm-hmm. And one other little nugget is that we shot an extra scene in Asheville last year. That's going to be airing in an episode this season, in season 6. We're doing a whole special about makers.
Makers, yeah.
And there's an awesome maker out of Asheville that we're featuring in that. So that'll be get a little bit of an Asheville hit for this year. It's kind of exciting. All right, so should we, before we start.
I need a cocktail.
We have cocktails.
I'm parched.
And do you want to talk about Eda Rhyne a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's familiar with our Asheville episode, you'll know that we featured Eda Rhyne, this incredible distillery run by these two wonderful, lovely gentlemen, Rhett and Chris. Yep. And I spent most of my time with Rhett just kind of going through their whole process, which you're about to see, so I'm not going to go detail into it. But we're big Negroni lovers, and I've never even heard of Amaro and Fernet. And they make amazing handmade local spirits, this beautiful like Italian beverage that they make. And we bought a case of this. We have a case.
Yeah.
And we are working through
with Appalachian herbs. That's
yes.
the whole...
Yeah, everything's made, but basically the ingredients that they use are like a mile down the road, picked at the peak of harvest, and then they distill it down. I love it, and then we feature them because Asheville is a beer town. Everyone knows Asheville for beer, and we just thought, well, what's that one brewery that's really going to signify that? And well, maybe we'll just go in a completely different direction altogether. And so we found out about what they were doing there at Eda Rhyne, Rhett and Chris, and just thought it was wonderful. We also just really love spirits, and they make a great drink. So, of course, everyone loves Negronis. That's kind of a popular cocktail. So I don't think it usually uses Fernet or an Amaro, but we do, right? We just thought, well, that's nice because it has a more herbal...
Yeah, actually, I have a picture. We had an event, a party earlier this year to celebrate our 5th season.
That's a beautiful Negroni.
Yeah.
My God, I married well. Oh, God.
That's lovely. We had a big event in New York City back in March, and one of our signature cocktails was a smoking Asheville Negroni that they did awesome there with the Eda Rhyne sent up some spirits for it. Mm-hmm. And they kind of put some cool smoke on it. It was fun.
Yeah, it's just like the fog of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
But this is the recipe from that. So it's basically a typical Negroni is Campari, sweet vermouth, and gin. This takes this kind of more funky, instead of the sweet vermouth, puts this Fernet in. And then to lighten it up a little bit, we do just normal dry vermouth.
Oh, okay, that's what you do. That's
it was a little too funky.
He makes the cup.
It was a little too funky with just that. So
oh, okay.
Make it a little more Negroni-like.
Nice, beautiful.
Yeah,
Again,
cheers.
another cheers. Thanks.
To Asheville. Mm-hmm. And I know that a couple people are drinking Negronis with us right now.
Nice. All right. Should we start the show?
Let's get it going.
It's a beautiful show.
I'm in a destination where an ancient landscape forged a distinct culture that continually fascinates. It's where mountain mythology combines with an urban-sized appetite for renewal and change. And this renewal can be found in the food, the arts, and history. It's a place where the contributions of its people have made it a vanguard of the creative spirit. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm Samantha Brown, and I've traveled all over this world.
So as the credits roll, when you think of Asheville, what do you think about?
Oh, gosh. I mean, just beautiful mountain landscapes. It's this confluence of a vibrant city, but nestled within the mountains. It's just such a rarity, real rarity, I think.
When I had the luxury of scouting this episode, so I got to spend a lot of time there a month earlier, and then when we were there filming, and there's some really interesting things about this energy of Asheville with all the mountains and the rivers all flowing into this one spot that's been just a kind of an energy space for, before the Europeans showed up. And also, it was an interesting thing was I spent a day with a guy that foraged for mushrooms and things. We did it for a bunch of reasons we couldn't feature in the show, but it actually has that everything grows there. Things that grow in China, like ginseng,
That's right.
Grows in Asheville, North Carolina. It's not far from where the thing that the bug catching plant?
Venus flytrap.
Venus flytraps.
Yeah, they only
are from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Nowhere else in the world, the Venus flytrap grows in North Carolina, not in Asheville, but near there. It's just it's a special place.
Navel,
Just the energy of the whole mountains and everything flow right into Asheville, and the people kind of bring that energy with them. Mm-hmm. We had many choices. We can only pick a handful of things to feature when we feature a place, and this was a tough one to do. We had a lot of great options to feature. But
I think for us, a question we always ask ourselves when we're about to do a show, especially when there's so many things to do, is not just like, what do we do, but how do we want to feel? And that's how we approach everything. But how do I want to feel when I'm in Asheville? And how do I want to feel inspired? And so, and here's our answers.
This is one of those views that just fills your soul. It's just, you feel the sun on your face and you look out over this amazing expanse of wilderness that just absorbs you. I'll be spending most of my time in Asheville, but first I wanted to head just outside of it, taking a leisurely drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway. The road is beckoning. Let's get back in the car. While the Blue Ridge Parkway connects 2 national parks and is itself a National Scenic Byway, I'm on it to check out one of its many gems, the Folk Art Center. The Folk Art Center features the oldest craft shop in the United States, as well as the work and craftsmanship of the Southern Highland Craft Guild. Sam Johnson can often be found here, and his specialty is the creation of bamboo fishing rods, continuing a technique developed over 150 years ago.
How many craftspeople do this?
Well, there aren't a lot of people that do it the way I do it, because I make everything on the rod. When a rod goes out of my shop, I want to know that everything on there is as good as it could possibly be. And I can't do that if I'm buying from someone else.
So Sam, why do you have sewing thread? And is that like traditional sewing thread behind you?
It is very traditional. We don't sew with it, we wrap with it. All of the decoration on the rod and all of the stations on the rod are held on with silk thread. And that's where a lot of the time is invested in a bamboo rod.
May I see that?
Certainly.
That is amazing. I had no idea. And so you're literally hand wrapping the silk thread? Oh, you're spinning it.
You're spinning it on there. We measure it by number of turns. And then the spacing is just by eye.
So here I thought the bamboo and putting that together was the real craft, but this also is pretty serious.
The planing and the splitting and doing all the bamboo work to get a blank ready to do that to me, that's the easy part. This is the real artisan part here. This is what people want.
Sam spends a minimum of 50 hours hand-making each one.
And it'll be exactly the way it was made 100 years ago.
Nice threads.
Nice thread. Metaphorically speaking.
Yes.
Asheville is an inspiring place. You can tell from its people and its food.
You take a bite and tell me what you think.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Chef Marijuana Ronnie is a force for both.
And just try a little bit of the sauce. Go straight from the bowl. It's Indian street food. I know, the spices are crazy, right?
A 5-time James Beard Award nominee, he is the owner of 5 restaurants in southern states. But the restaurant that began it all is here in Asheville.
Your whole restaurant is dedicated to Indian street food.
Before we get into this, I had to say, when we were scouting and preparing for that scene of the craftsman there, we had, in the parking lot, there was a fair that day, and we could have done 2 episodes just on people like that, making so many amazing things. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of overwhelming, and Sam was great, and he was in the lobby, and it was kind of controllable, and it was a beautiful scene. But there's so many people that make great things in Asheville that we could have just bounced around and done a whole episode just on that. Yeah. It was amazing. And then we get to our chef. She mentioned about the James Beard.
Oh yeah.
That about six months ago, right? I think.
Yeah.
This restaurant, Chai Pani, won Best Restaurant in America by the James Beard Award.
Wait, in America?
Yeah.
I thought it was in the
No.
In the South.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing. There's different classes, but it was something, but it was nationally best restaurant. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Correct. This was a passion of mine for 20 years in America of why nobody was doing Indian street food. We had plenty of buffets
That's true.
and
Yeah, you're right.
curries,
Yeah.
and you can find a curry house everywhere. Mm-hmm. What I love about this food is that it's a mixture of the familiar
Yeah.
and the unfamiliar.
Right.
And I think it makes it exciting and fun And the familiar part makes it approachable.
So familiar, I see okra right
Okra.
here. That's a southern staple.
Here's where spice plays a huge role. I mean, okra is okra, right? And fried okra is fried okra. So what makes this taste Indian? It's the spice mixture, it's the spice blend.
Right. I think as famous as Indian dishes are, chicken tikka, right? Masala, the spice.
Yes.
I feel like in no other cuisine, the spice is as integral to the meal as the food itself.
I agree.
I think that's where, like, sometimes Indian food gets people. They're intimidated. They think it's too spicy. This is going to be overpowering. What would you like them to know?
That's the mistake that I think is made in describing Indian food. People equate spicy with heat, like on the palate. And most of what you're going to eat here is spiced with flavor, but not necessarily with a lot of heat. So cumin, cardamom, ginger, clove, nutmeg, black pepper.
Marwan now sources, selects, and blends for his small batch.
When we film a scene, I was there. I was really lucky. I got to be there for filming the scene because I usually am not. And there's a certain kind of energy in the room as the scene's happening. And towards the end, as the crew knows that the scene is slowing down and is going to end very soon, everyone starts angling for that food on that plate. and
It's so true.
and it's just like, because Sam's been kind of picking at it and like, taking little bites because she's on camera trying to be awesome, talking and all this great thing.
Yeah.
But everyone else is just with the cameras or lights or whatever's happening. All they're doing is like, when this is over, I'm going for that drumstick.
It's like there's sharks coming in and they're just waiting. And literally, my crew will just push me out of the way to get to the food, and that's what they did that day. His food's amazing, and his spices, if you go on, are even more incredible.
Spice Company right here in Asheville. Now he can reach more people with his big flavors than just who comes into his restaurant.
And so what was your experience coming to the South, the American South?
But I just had a feeling that if we took flavors that were delicious, made them approachable without dumbing them down, backed off on the spice that Americans think of, so it was trying to bring both cultures together that I think made people go like, this is amazing.
I'm driving to the legendary Biltmore house, but I won't be visiting the magnificent home per se. I'm actually here to geek out on Frederick Law Olmsted, considered to be the father of American landscape architecture. I'm actually driving through one of his designs now.
Think about it, the 1890s, it took almost an hour to get from the railroad station up to the house. No long-range views, that there would be little incidences that guests of George Vanderbilt would be able to see where water spills over a little waterfall. A bank of rhododendrons and different flowers. You don't see the house until you come around that corner and all of a sudden, there it is. And
So when we published this post about tonight in Asheville, I'd say 2/3 of the responses had to do with Biltmore at Christmas.
Oh, I bet it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course.
And it was just, just Derek on YouTube just said, hey, I'm from North Carolina, I'm going to Biltmore for the first time Thursday. It's
Yeah. I've never seen it at Christmas. I've gone there many times and never at Christmas. I bet you it's really, oh my gosh, yeah.
Just imagine. But, as we were kind of preparing for this episode, and I think we knew we wanted to feature the Biltmore, but we I think our show, we try to go a little deeper than, the easy hits. And there's so many things in that house that's interesting. But, I think we kept saying over and over again is that, Rich Guy, Big House isn't our show. We wanted to find another angle, another story that was equally interesting. And then the second we heard that Sam's
boyfriend from the 1890s. You can say it.
Her Victorian era boyfriend.
Yeah.
Was it, what's his name again?
Frederick Law Olmsted. It's so convenient that he forgets.
No, the second we heard that he designed the grounds, it was just like, well, that's our story then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a huge Frederick Law Olmsted fan. I mean, I'm not like a scholar or anything. I just really appreciate, someone who has changed the United States in terms of public parks. We love public parks. Something that everyone has access to. And of course, you don't all have access to this house. You have to pay to get there. Although I believe the grounds are free. I don't think you have to pay until you get into the actual house. I could be wrong about that. But I just love, he changed. He was the American landscaper, and before him, it was all European influence, and he really set the course for our country with what landscape architecture is and how we enjoy public spaces. He is the designer of Central Park. He is the designer of our wonderful Prospect Park here in Brooklyn that I go to every other day, and I just have a great appreciation for someone with such a vision. Because now you see, what we'll see is, how the landscape filled in after 100 years, and yet they didn't know that when they were putting these trees there, but every single tree you see was placed by Frederick Law Olmsted to the point where it just looks natural.
And it's an interesting idea that you think an architect designs a building, and that building's going to probably outlast that person. They'll be gone, the building's still there. Just the idea that someone could design a park and greenery and where shrubs will go and where paths will go and everything else.
And how that tree its arbor will fill in a space through time.
And that is protected in the way that, they've done some things, but it's always to his plans.
It's always to his plans. They've not changed a thing.
Obviously things have filled in since he was there, but basically the grounds are as he designed them, and the dramatic aspects of how they were designed, that they knew it took an hour by horse and buggy to get up to the house. So there's always different reveals that they purposely designed where the guests would see as they went out. It's amazing.
Building suspense, basically.
The care that went through into that. And it's still, and all that care is still available. It's amazing.
Its glory. That was the culmination of the arrival experience. I'm Parker Andes, and I'm the Director of Horticulture here on the Biltmore estate.
Great, and here we are.
And here we are.
And it's interesting, we're literally walking in the opposite direction of everyone, right?
Yes.
We're going away from the house. Right. How important was the landscape to the house? Was the house here first and then the landscape? That's usually how it goes.
Exactly the opposite. So George Vanderbilt had purchased this property. He loved the view of the mountains. And he wrote a letter to Olmsted asking Olmsted to come in and help him and tell me if I've made a mistake. So Olmsted helped lay out the grounds, the roads, talked about the forestry and how important that was going to be. All of that before the house was ever started coming up out of the ground.
So is this one of the paths that Olmsted would have traced way back when?
Absolutely. In fact, we don't move any of the historic paths. We might widen them for today's guests, but this path was on a drawing in 1893 and then was walked on Olmsted, Vanderbilt, all those guys by 1895. Olmsted designed this garden to have garden rooms. So the whole garden is separated by things like this, or stairs, where you have an experience in one area, you go through a hallway, a doorway, a set of steps, a hedge, and you have a different garden. This is the spring garden, not completely, but a very different experience.
Yeah, you can actually feel it get a little more moist. You feel lower into
everything, a lot more evergreen, much more evergreen, much more closed in on the paths. So, and that's our job, is to keep that feel, that design going for the next 100 years.
This is the walled garden, which has to be one of the most popular spots in the entire state.
It is. It really attracts, color attracts people's eye. And the more saturated the color, the better they like it. It wasn't, as it turned out, one of Olmsted's favorites. He said at one point that one of the first things people did to ruin one of his parks is they would put in a flower garden.
He did not like flowers.
He liked flowers, but like that natural, more...
This is way too manicured.
Right, rows, straight rows. Why would somebody want to do that? It was called bedding out, and that style was not something that he was at all interested in.
But the original plans of the estate show that George Vanderbilt wanted it, and he wrote the checks.
As the director of horticulture, my responsibilities are to not screw it up. So our job is to maintain those design intents from Frederick Law Olmsted and George Vanderbilt when they originally laid out this property. So we hope that our guests get that, and we know some of them really do. Oh, look, this is why we came. That's when we know that that design intent that Olmsted put out 125 plus years ago still works today. So it's really special.
most people don't know that these were actually like not only the oldest mountains in the world, but they were the biggest mountains that have ever been on this planet. They're just that old and eroded down to what you see outside right now. And so that billions of years of water trickling down rocks and percolating through soil and evolution has created this landscape. The soul is old. And it's something you just learn to like love and feel.
And all of that you are, in a sense, bottling.
That is exactly what we're trying to.
So when Rhett said that, when he just started speaking, and I've known him for all of maybe 20 minutes, and we're kind of, okay, what should we do? Can we do this? Okay, we'll do this for the scene, and that'll be our action. And then I just started a nice conversation with someone, and all of a sudden he just said what was for me one of the most beautiful passages that anyone has ever said to describe where they're from. And I mean, you can go, don't go back, but the next time you go, I'm just staring because I'm like, I know it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that to come from him. And it was so eloquently said. And so, when I'm working with David, our editor, I'm like, how do we use that? How do we use that to bring us into the net? Because it was so beautiful. He said a few things that just all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, we're in a different place then emotionally because of how he could so eloquently. And this is why Asheville is such an important episode for us, is that the people are able to really vocalize and emote how they feel about Asheville. So, and he's just one of those people who, wow.
Yeah.
Just for me, it's, someone's hitting a home run. It's almost like when you're seeing an athlete just line up the ball and whack. You're just like, there. Oh my, he's going for it. Goal. World Cup. I'll just put that one in there. So nice, but anyway, play on. But just that was one of those moments where it's like, oh my goodness.
Like distill down into the weird stuff that we make and we're really proud of.
Eda Rhyne is a distillery in a beer town. And what makes it especially unique is how they use locally foraged greenery to infuse their spirits.
So this is spice bush, grows all over the East Coast, all the way to Ohio. Today we'll be bottling the Lindera vodka that we make from this, which is an herbal infused vodka with just these spring leaves harvested in the morning. They have to be in the still by that afternoon in order to make it work.
So you harvest this in the morning and it has to go in fresh today?
Today,
okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have a lot of work to do.
We do,
okay.
We do. You're gonna be using the twig to put in each bottle that we bottle here.
And all of these plants are not only local, but like incredibly local, like just maybe 10 miles away?
Less than a mile and then a couple of miles. I'll let Chris sort of tell you a lot more about this because he comes from more of a foraging and family history of making medicine out of these plants than I do.
A lot of people, when they think, Western North Carolina spirits, they sort of get this idea of the hillbilly in the woods making illicit liquor. And that's definitely part of our history. But what a lot of people don't understand is that, there were portions of each run of the moonshine, that actually went to the medicine makers in the community because there weren't any hospitals. We just want to pay homage to not only the people and the place, but the plants.
And one of the ways you really celebrate all of those things is to put it into a very specific herbal liqueur that the Italians sort of made famous, I would guess, in their joy of life, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Amari.
Definitely.
You produce 3 Amari?
Right now we have 3 different Amari that we produce. We have an Amaro Flora. This is made of very complex floral flavors. It's made of some roots, but a lot of wildflowers. Right.
And just to know that these are wildflowers
right.
you picked. I mean, it's literally a bouquet.
So if you just stick that down in there and just snip that off right there.
You're gonna raise it a
Don't,
little?
Yep.
I'm not gonna get your
Don't get my fingers
no,
now.
it's okay, it's all right. And so this just imparts a flavor, a nice warming spice, and that warming spice is going to actually grow a little bit more, evolve, open up.
Totally. So in the ones where there's a slightly larger stick, there's going to be a noticeable flavor difference between this one 3 months from now.
Okay.
Well, I'm very interested to see what you think about it. Wow. And how does it feel in your mouth?
Still has that lemony taste from the leaf. I tasted the leaves.
Right.
And then I chewed on the stick.
Yeah.
And it's all still in the glass.
Right. We're really trying to capture a sense of place here, you know, a regional flavor, and using the things that are specific to here to find an expression that represents us.
I'm Alexandria Moncu Ravenel, and I am a social entrepreneur. Along with my child, Ajax Ravenel, and a few other friends, we opened Noir Collective. We decided right in the middle of the pandemic that we needed to do something to help Black entrepreneurs. And so together we opened this space, and we have about 13 different entrepreneurs of color that are represented here. They're artists, they're craftspeople, they're imaginaries and visionaries, they're health workers. We created a space where we can thrive together.
Is being here at the Noir Collective, is this the first time so many of your paintings have been hung right next to each other?
Yes, it has been. It just feels like my journey has actually been good. What I went through, my troubles, the rough times, it all paid off.
It did.
It's paying off still.
And were you able to, you were talking about struggles and having a hard time, and you were able to get through a lot of that hard time or work through that through art?
Yes. It's been 47 years since the last time I saw my mother. And so having the parents to get arrested and going to prison, I had to go live with my dad's parents. My grandmother was a very powerful influence, raising 14 kids of her own and taking in 4 more, which was us at the time. My art teachers, going through school, just having these powerful women in my life. So my focus is all about women. The eyes, the lips, the hair. I was trying to figure out what my mom looks like if I would see her today.
Is that right? Is she in almost every painting that you paint?
Pretty much.
Wow.
I had someone tell me before, it's like, you gotta quit drawing yourself. But then I realized I'm me trying to find out what my mother looks like. Wow. So.
And when people walk through the door here and see your paintings, what is one of the things you really want them to take away from your paintings?
The story. I always tell people that my paintings are gonna reach those it's intended for. Sometimes you can walk into a piece and you know that story's in that's what I gotta have. So each one of them has a story. It just has to resonate with the right person.
Resonating strongly with the community.
Kevin had a great time at the Noir Collective. And I remember you called me that night, and you're like, it's just a great space, talking about that energy. You walk in and you felt that energy. And, you know, it might be intimidating walking into a business of all women of artists. And you said you just laughed, like they had you in tears, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And you're like, this is a good place.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of great art. The support there, I think, for the artists, you know, and I think that's a big, I always know when a city's doing it right, when artists are supported in a way that, you know, allow them to thrive and allow them to meet customers in a way that might be tougher for them. And that storefront in an area called The Block, we'll learn a little more about that. It just, you know, The Block needs them and they need The Block, I think, you know?
Yeah. And when Alexandria says healthcare workers, we're still kind of in the COVID right now. We shot Asheville. It
was May of last year.
May of last year. So it was just when, you know, things were starting to get a little better, a little where you felt like there could be normalcy, but there was still a lot of just kind of feeling socially awkward. There's like, how do we reach out? And, you know, we relied so heavily on artists to do so. And that's Noir Collective. They came together for themselves, I think, first. And because it was successful for themselves to be with each other and create that art, now you're able to open up those doors and allow people to come into that energy and to that love. And I think they just did a really, really wonderful job. But I remember you just loved them. You're like, you left.
Yeah, it was a great group of women there.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Community and travelers to it is Dwayne Barton and his Hood Hugger Tours.
To me, a hood hugger is somebody who heals himself while also rebuilding their community.
So it's kind of like a tree hugger, you hug the trees.
Exactly, and that's where we got like the hood hugger from. We looked at the tree huggers and they was like they had chained themselves to a tree, live in a tree to try to protect it. We feel the same way about the hoods.
Hood Hugger Tours tell the story of the past, present, and future of African Americans in Asheville.
Right now we're in the block. Now this was a central African American business district. This was our Black Wall Street, over 65 Black-owned businesses in and around this area. And the Wine Mine was like the anchor of this area. Young Men's Institute. And it was like a community center for the African American tradesmen that helped build the Biltmore State, 18,000 square feet. It was really a multi-purpose building that was designed for recreation and entrepreneurship activities. They even had an orchestra, a Wine Mine Orchestra.
What is it now?
Right now, it's still a community center. During the time of integration, the building was condemned and scheduled to being torn down. And then the community came together and they was able to put it on the National Historical Register around 1977. And right now, it's one of the oldest African American culture centers in the country.
When you see all this development around a small little patch of greenery, you know that a lot went into saving this piece of land.
Well, this park was created because the wave of development by this group, Just Folks, they seen the development come in and they just wanted to say, like, Black folks were here, and they created this mural. And what it is a timeline mural starting on this far left, and it goes through time, and it's focusing on an individual or place. It was over 100 volunteers that helped make this happen.
So right here is that the street where we're walking down?
Yes, yeah, that's the block. And remember I told you about over the 65 Black-owned businesses was in and around this area.
And then it disappeared.
Yeah, it disappeared with bulldozers. They tore it down, and this is when I talk about that period of urban renewal. We feel urban renewal really tripped up the civil rights movement and didn't give it the foundation and strength it needed to really put us in a different direction.
But as you say, now the momentum is slowly changing and things are starting to go in a different direction to bring this back to more of that community that made it thrive.
Our city is slowly coming on board to acknowledging African American history and culture. In fact, there's over 25 different projects right now trying to honor and acknowledge that history.
Okay, tape's rolling.
I wanna go downtown and look some stranger in the face. I wanna be myself again. Remember why I love this place. I wanna wake up now and squeeze the living from this day. I wanna believe truly everything's gonna be okay. But
what's it like to record music in this room with its history?
It's an unbelievable honor, and it was from this very room that bluegrass music was first introduced to North America over the airwaves. So thousands of acts have played in this very room, and there are many wonderful ghosts that visit here very frequently, and it's such a privilege to be able to work out of this space and to try to carry that tradition forward.
Citizen Vinyl isn't simply a recording studio. Its ground floor is a community space where food is served, records are sold, and even made.
You and I were brought up on vinyl records.
Absolutely.
There was nothing like just holding that record in my hand. It all comes back. There's such a sense memory to it, right? Taking it out, hearing it leave the cardboard, putting it on, the smell,
yes.
Reading the liner notes.
Yes.
And it's something that people now, the younger generation, oh no, we get to say that.
I know, the kids these days.
The kids these days, they don't have that at all. but it is coming back, and you are proof of that.
Yes. When we decided to call our business Citizen Vinyl, we wanted to do it for a couple of reasons. One is to recognize the history of this building. This is the newspaper building, the Asheville Citizen Times. So we wanted to recognize the history of this building, but we also were really intrigued with the whole notion of what does it mean to be a citizen in today's age? What does it mean to belong to a place? We felt like it was a way for us to challenge ourselves to be good citizens and to hopefully in doing so to lead by example and try to inspire and encourage all of Asheville to step up to be the good citizens that we're all capable of being.
We had so many great people in this episode just saying such wonderful things. I don't think we've ever had so much of that in one episode.
And this is Alexa Rose, the artist, who just sings like an angel. And when we were recording this scene, and you can tell Brian, our cameraman, is right in there with her, and the rest of us, we were there too. We did a few takes, but when she sang this song for the first time, all of us were emotionally very taken aback because it was the first time we had been with live music since the pandemic. And all throughout season 5, there are these moments where I didn't realize, oh my gosh, I haven't had this in years, literally years, this feeling of just being with artists. And whether it was with Jenny Pickens or Alexa Rose, or just to talk to people and to have this one-on-one conversation. It was emotionally, it was a very charged but we were all in tears. We all had to take a moment after she was done singing just to kind of go, okay, what take do we need to do? Okay, we need to go. Okay, we got to do this again. But it was this moment of just, I forgot that this might affect us in a very different way because we're just usually, we're working. And when Gar talks about what does it mean to be a citizen, he is talking from a point of being from the pandemic of just, either it brought people together or it tore people apart. And this question that still hangs over us today, what does it mean to be a citizen? And how do we support our communities? Who are we to do that? And it was a powerful episode.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the funny thing about Gar is that he lived in Brooklyn in our neighborhood, and his office was a block away from Sam's office. It was just funny how small a world it is.
We knew it as soon as I saw him wear plaid. I was like, "Are you from Brooklyn?" Because we wear plaid. We wear plaid.
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
You don't get beat up. You wear plaid.
He had a more Western plaid, so it wasn't like worker. It wasn't like But so I was like, okay, you can tell that now that you've gone further south with the style of your plaid. But he was still wearing plaid. But yeah, lovely man, lovely people.
Traveler coming to the area around Asheville, you're going to have a lot of everything. For me, it's beer, great beer, but it's also fly fishing. I enjoy trout fishing in these mountains.
That's part of it. There's also an abundance of really great people here. People who've been able to flourish, who do weird stuff, and people who wouldn't necessarily be as easily accepted in certain places of the country or the world.
We're happy to be a part of the history and the legacy of those who came before us, who have toiled and labored and lost. And so it's really important to seek them out and see another part of Asheville.
To seek the weird, the wonderful, and the not known is why I share my love of travel. And that's why Asheville, North Carolina is a place to love.
It really is. It really, really is. All right, are we ready for our special guest?
I think I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you ready?
Yes.
So we are really happy to have this special guest. And everyone, please welcome Miss Jenny Pickens. She's muted. Hold on. Wait. I always do this.
That's a little Captain and Tennille.
Can you hear us?
Jenny, can you hear us? Oh, all right, no, but we can't hear you, so hold on.
Maybe you hit the mute button?
It's me. It's
Oh,
always
yay!
Oh, it's usually me. I do it
No,
every time.
exactly. Jenny, it's so great to see you. I don't know if you were able to watch Can you watch yourself? Can you watch yourself on TV and not and enjoy it, or is it sort of like an out of body experience?
out of body experience, but it's fun. It's the first time, and it's like, oh, so this is how it works in studios.
Yeah, exactly. I've been keeping up with you, of course, and I just loved your art, and we had that conversation on camera. And you are, I think everyone should know watching right now, Jenny is self-taught. Her art just comes from within, and you really recognize that you were an artist when? Tell us what at what age did you realize that, okay, this is something that's really that I'm good at?
It had to be kindergarten. My first, because I always would write on things, but when I got kindergarten, we had an art teacher, Portia Mapp Leverett now, and she would come in that classroom with that smile, and I drew the same picture all the time, and she's like, "You're so good," and she was the one. And I tell her all the time, anytime I get to see her, you're the reason.
So you still see Portia, your teacher?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And now you have really stepped into that role yourself. You actually work with young children, first grade, kindergarten, as well in art.
Yes, I feel like I needed to give back. Someone was there for me, and I thought about all the stuff I was going through at home. It's like there are other kids that are doing the same, facing the same things, So what can I do? So I really enjoy doing it. So it's not like it's work.
Yeah,
it's just like, and to see their faces light up and to see what they can create.
You work in so many mediums, whether it is oil paintings, and I have a very large one as well. Oh, should we show Zola's Embrace?
So
have you seen? I don't think you've seen her mounted, Jenny. Let's see.
That's Sam's
there she
office.
is. That's my office. So I love. She's beautiful, isn't she? Good place.
Yeah.
So right there, it's almost like an altar to Asheville, because after meeting Gar at Citizen Vinyl, of course I had to get a turntable and some records, because I was so I remember that time of my life so vividly, having records. So that was a nice birthday gift from Kevin. But Zola has a place right there, and it just reminded me of what Places to Love is about. That you're going through the world, and I'm not looking for anything perfect. I'm just looking, and Zola just speaks to me in that way. Just beautiful colors. You are phenomenal with mixing your colors and what goes with what. And
she's sewing the world, right?
She's sewing the world. Yeah. She's sewing the world.
Love back into the world.
And she's putting love back into the world.
Wow.
Is that what she's?
Yes, that's why it's a heart, and it has thread on it. So she's repairing it.
Yeah, and we all need that, right? We all need more love back in this world for sure. And Zola is also a mural size as well in Asheville. Isn't that correct? I've seen her in large form.
Yeah, it was originally on a paint container in the River Arts District.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Hetty Fisher and Randy Scholes. They're the Pink Dog Studios, a train container cross. So it's back in 2017 that I did that.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, Jenny, of course, is an artist of paintings, but she also does full-scale murals. So it's just, small scale, large scale. But I have to tell you where I really, if you go follow her on her Instagram, she's Jenny Pickens, correct?
Jenny Pickens 616.
Jenny Pickens 616. Follow Jenny, then you get a link to her artwork. And but your what I love most, which I've just become obsessed by, are your dolls. Your dolls are beautiful. When did you start doing dolls?
I always did. I did, when I was a little girl, I would take the clothes off the dolls because I didn't like them, and make my own from scraps material, because my grandma would pull together our old clothes, and I would take the needle. And after my niece, that tragic with her, I just thought about how can I make something else too, because I always was doing them, but they were at home, for myself. And started getting back into it. I was at first taking my kids with me, going to find socks. We're buying up socks, like men's socks, and it just evolved from there. Then it's got into dressing them up, and I love doing dolls.
Oh, you can tell. I mean, from, when they'll have this beautiful braided hair and then the little shell necklace, the little shell earrings. And I love how they don't have faces, but they have such expression. I mean, they are works of art, Jenny. And I don't know how you can, because I would love to purchase a few, but they're not on your website. Are you going to be putting them up soon, or do you sell them out? Because I see that you put them out when you go to the events and the art events that you go to, but I've never seen them. So put them up there, Jenny, please.
I will get on that the next couple of days. I'm on it now.
After you get back from Bahamas, because Jenny's got a vacation she's going on. So
I earned that.
Yes, you did. If anyone, go on to her website, look at her artwork. But if you want to buy anything, maybe hold off. Let her come back from the Bahamas first.
Yeah, give her a break.
Give her a break. But that's going to be a vacation with your daughter. Is that who you're
daughter
going
and
with?
grandkids and my soon-to-be son-in-law.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. It's always good to bring the mom. I just brought my mom on vacation. We got to treat the moms right because. Yeah, exactly. And then you're just filled with inspiration to head back out and to create more art. Are you still at the Noir Collective? Can we still see your work there?
Still at Noir Collective. Yeah, my work is still there. Some new pieces up in there, and possibly more next when the new year comes in. So yeah,
wonderful.
Still doing that.
Yeah, beautiful pieces, and it's great to see you again. We had Asheville's a really special place for us. You at the Noir Collective were all so welcoming to us. I mean, people don't realize, like, we come in and we're this big group of people, right? And we try not to invade a space. We try to come in with respect, but we take up a lot of room and we've got all of our gear, and it can be sort of like, who are these people coming today? And you showed us such hospitality, and to have two massive cameras on you, and you're just there to speak your truth, and we don't sometimes, just by the nature of what we do, it's a hard thing to do, and for you to be to open yourself up to us to express what you expressed, we deeply appreciate that, because we know, I personally know how hard that is. It is not easy, the position we put people in.
Well, you were genuine, your whole staff, everybody, and it was just like we had that conversation. It's like, you were genuine, and we're still talking to each other to today. So
yes, exactly. Oh, you won't be getting rid of me anytime soon. Oh no, get those dolls up there, Jenny. Get those dolls up there. Oh, but it's been such a pleasure, and have a wonderful trip. And
thank you.
Rest and come back.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Jenny, take care. Have a great night, Jenny.
Jenny Pickens, LLC.com. And then at Jenny Pickens 616 is her Instagram handle. Again, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.
You too.
Wow. It's great to see her. That was a year and a half ago.
Well, I have Zola's embrace, so I feel like I see her almost every day in my office.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Wow.
I'm serious. Just real powerful.
We have a few questions. I lit up the YouTube feed right before we joined. I had forgotten about that. It's been almost a year, so I was kind of getting my sea legs, and my dad mentioned, "Oh, you're on YouTube?" And I was like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot we did this on YouTube." And we got some really important questions. Derek Sanders.
Oh, well,
I know the answer.
Who do you prefer, Led Zeppelin or Van Halen?
First of all, I have no idea why this question was asked, but
Led Zeppelin.
It's important.
Yeah. I'm Led. that's right. You like Van Halen?
You're an 80s girl. Van Halen.
I'm an 80s girl, but I was an 80s girl in New Hampshire. We were 10 years behind. We're still playing 80. We were playing 70s music in the 80s.
In the 80s?
No, I'm serious.
So,
if you ever go to New Hampshire, we've got 10 radio stations.
Jump
7 of them are
mid-90s hit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. They're still listening to Bad Company. I love Led Zeppelin, and I have an older sister. She's 6 years older, so she was Led Zeppelin. I play the flute. I learned to play the Stairway to Heaven on the flute.
All right.
My gosh, Van Halen.
I
like Van Halen.
There'll be a Van Halen reference in our first episode of season 6.
There will be?
Yeah.
A Van Halen?
A very brief... Sorry, Led Zeppelin. Sorry, Led Zeppelin. That's a little Easter egg nugget there. Yeah. Derek asked another question, or a statement more, that he's going to Biltmore for the first time in 2 days. That's really cool. He's been watching you since Great Vacation Homes.
Nice.
Is that 1999?
What? Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great Vacations
great.
Home. That's still one of my favorite series I've ever been a part of. I loved it. I loved meeting the homeowners, and we had a good time. Good time. Wow.
Vivi from Indonesia. Selamat datang. Good to see you, Vivi. Thank you for joining us from Indonesia. That's really cool. She's been watching since 2005. That's awesome.
Great. Yeah, I think with my Discovery days, when I was on the Travel Channel, everything went on the Discovery Channel, and they go out, of course, all over the world. And it is the most amazing thing when you are somewhere in Asia and people come up to you because they know you. It's like, how do you know me? At first you think you're in trouble, like I've said something wrong, or why are they coming up to me? And then you realize that they've been watching you, and it's so unbelievably flattering that when people know you around the world.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Remember when we were in Taipei?
Yeah,
and
I do remember that.
We were on the street and people stopped their cars and started screaming at Samantha. It was crazy.
Well, that's where I thought we got in trouble. I'm like,
yeah.
what's
happening? Why is everyone yelling at us?
Your first reaction is not, oh, they know me and they watch my show.
Yeah.
It's like, do I run?
It was, and then we got to the lobby. We walked in the lobby and like everyone, it was crazy. It was a lot of fun, but crazy.
Yeah.
Jeff Rumplick was saying about, I think, some of our behind the scenes stuff there, that when we need a show that interviews the crew and they tell stories. How do you feel about that?
Oh my gosh, I would love it. I mean, I love my crew, and
could you run all the cameras?
Yes, definitely. I could. I would figure that out. But I would. What you don't see is just how hard our crew works, and we have these camera operators with 25-pound cameras, and they have them on their shoulders for 8-10 hours a day, and they don't stop. And so it's a constantly moving machine, and it's a lot of them I've been with for 17 years. I mean, there's a reason why my crew is my crew. Is because,
went to our wedding.
Yeah, we count on each other.
16 years ago.
It's just a look, and they know this is the one, or back off, or and I look at them and I know they need a break, they need a treat, they need ice cream. So our crew is amazing. I would love to do that. That's a really fun fact.
Writing
that down, Jeff.
Fun fact, for our pilot, when we moved to PBS and we had to pay for everything ourselves, and we did a pilot to see if we could make a show that we wanted to make. We did it in Brooklyn because we live in Brooklyn. And to save money, I decided I would be the second camera operator, and I will never do that again. That's hard. I thought it'd be like, oh, this would be fun, walk around and get some cool shots. That was hard. I will never do that again. That's like work.
Well, especially because you, remember, I won't bring it up. No, it's fine.
Good.
It's just, remember, we couldn't use a whole scene because the camera was up to here on the person's face.
That was the director telling me to do that. No. I kept on the radio saying, this doesn't seem right. Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, stay there. I'm like, okay. Had I known better, I would have just not done the shot. But I was just like, I'm doing what the director tells me to do.
That's fine. I couldn't shoot either.
Jeff also mentioned a comment about the South, just that, Asheville and Nashville are, pretty far north in the South, I guess. Especially, Asheville's Western North Carolina. Mm-hmm. See if any other questions. All right. So I think in the first show, again, we got kind of our sea legs for our first one of these. It's been almost a year. We're going to do this 7 more times the next 7 weeks on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. And next week, I got it queued up. I just put it in.
Nice.
Guess what? The Jersey Shore. And more.
And more. Yep.
And more.
Yep.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. So we will be back right here at 9 o'clock on Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great night.
I gotta figure out how to end this.
Are we still live?
We are.
Should I dance?
No longer live.
Okay.